Okay, welcome to Geometry Quiz 4 review. We have a shape here that we are going to find x. So we're going to solve for x. This shape happens to be isosceles triangle. How do I know that? Because this side here is equal to this side here. And this angle, angle BAC, is equal to angle BCA. How do I know? Because definition of an isosceles triangle. But that doesn't help me get to my end goal, which is finding out what x. Well, what can I do to find x? Hey, I noticed that this length, DB, is equivalent to DA. That means point D must be the midpoint. And I also see BE being equivalent to CE, which makes E the midpoint. And I have connected two midpoints together. And when I connect two midpoints together, that makes it a mid-segment. So a mid-segment has certain properties. That means that this line is parallel to this line, but it also means that this line DE is half the size of AC, or DE 2 times DE equals AC. I think I can find what x is now. So if DE is x plus 3, I can take 2 times x plus 3 and set that equal to negative 2x minus 6. Now I'm going to do a little algebra. That means x equals negative 3. So if x is negative 3, this right here, I have just found x. Now if the equation asked me to find x, I would have completed my task. But if it told me to solve for DE or find DE, then I would have to take negative 3 and put it in for x. And negative 3 plus 3 is 0. Or if it asked me to find the length of AC, I would have to put in negative 3 for AC. So negative 2 times negative 3 is positive 6. 6 minus 6 is 0. That makes sense. Why? Because 2 times 0 is 0. And 0 divided by 2 or multiplied by half is 0. I guess this triangle doesn't exist. Let's take a look at this triangle here. I noticed that BD is equal to DA. That must be D is the midpoint. BE is equal to EC. That makes E the midpoint. And finally, AF is equal to FC. That makes F the midpoint. when you connect midpoints together, like DE being connected together, that means this line is parallel to this line here. It also means that DE is half the length of AC. So if DE is 12, I know that AC has to be 24. If DF is the midsegment, because it's two midpoints are connected by it, that would make 10 is the length of that mid, and 10 is the length of that midsegment. That means BC must be 20. And finally, if EF, which are midpoints, are connected, that makes it a midsegment, are connected together, and EF is 15, that makes this side 30. So if I was looking to find the perimeter of this triangle, I would say 30 plus 20 plus 24, which is 74. Sorry. Technical difficulties. All right. Now we're going to work on triangle inequality theorem. Triangle inequality theorem says that the sum of the lengths of any two sides of a triangle must be greater than the third. So that means a triangle if I pick any two sides of that triangle, that has to be greater than the length of the third. So if I take 15 plus 12, that has to be greater than 9. That also means 12 plus 9 must be greater than 15. And 9 plus 15 must be greater than 12. All three statements must be true in order for this to be a triangle. Looking at the other three potential triangles, are there any one that will not be a triangle? Why don't you hit pause and determine which one will not be a triangle? Okay, let's take a look at what we got here. From this green triangle, that is not a triangle. From this green potential triangle, it's not a triangle. Let's find out why. 20 plus 10 is greater than 9. That is a true statement. 20 plus 9 is greater than 10. That's a true statement. The problem is here. 10 plus 9 is 19, and that is not greater than 20. So this is not a triangle. Okay, let's take a look at this blue potential triangle. 10 plus 15 is greater than 5. That absolutely is. That makes that 25. 15 plus 5 is greater than 10. Absolutely, that makes it 20. 15 plus 15, 15 is greater than 15? No, that's false. So this is not a triangle. Even though it's equal, that is not greater than. So it is not a triangle. This obviously is a triangle because that works. All right, let's talk about perpendicular bisectors for a moment. A perpendicular bisector is a line that cuts in half another line or a segment. And then the angles around that line, the central point or the connecting point, are at 90 degrees. For example, segment DE bisects segment AC in half. AB and BC are both equal. It also forms 4 right angles around the central point of B, because that makes this a perpendicular bisector. Why is that important? Because we need to know that every line that we draw from this A that touches the segment that forms the perpendicular bisector are all equal distance apart from its corresponding side of C. So, in other words, this line segment is congruent to this line segment. This line segment is congruent to this line segment. This line segment 3 is congruent to this line segment 3. So on and so forth. So this line segment is congruent to this line segment. With that being said, the question says here, find X. We're going to find X when DC, which is not connected, but we're going to draw a point here, is 8X. And DA is 5X plus 12. That means the length of these two sides are equal. Because they are touching the same point equal distance apart. So we're going to go ahead and subtract 5X from both sides. That gives us 12 equal 3X. You divide by 3, X equals 4. Now, because it says find X, we know that 4 is okay. Okay, now let's talk about a segment bisector. It is related to the perpendicular bisector, but segment bisectors are a little different. This is our segment bisector here. BD is the segment bisector of angle ABC. The difference is there are no perpendicular angles that the segment bisector creates. However, any point that we draw from the segment bisector, any lines that we draw from the segment bisector touches the corresponding side at a 90-degree angle. It also becomes equal distance apart provided that they're coming from the same point. For example, let D be a point on the segment bisector BD. If we draw a line from D to A and from D to C, we know that these two angles are congruent. They are coming from the segment bisector from the same point. Now, with that being said, we know that if AD is equal to DC, that means 3X plus 1 must be equal to 2X plus 6. We're going to solve for X. X equals 5. Let's write that a little better. So if I'm trying to find the X or find X, I have found the solution to my problem. But if I'm trying to find the length of AD, I would have to put that 5 in for 3X, which would 3X plus 1, which would be 15X plus 1, which is 16.